Meta Platforms stock crashed following the company's most recently completed quarterly earnings results, where the management team talked about how much they spent on artificial intelligence and how much they expect to continue to spend on AI. That spooked investors, which started selling the shares, and they fell from 750 down to below 600. Now it's recovered a little bit since then, but it's still not experiencing the enthusiasm as investors are concerned that it's spending too much on AI. But where will the share price be by the end of next year? Or where do I think the stock price will be by the end of 2026? That's the question I'm going to answer in this video, looking at a few estimates and assumptions, and then creating a scenario analysis to determine where I think it'll end up. Of course, I'll detail where I'm getting all the information so you can see for yourself if the numbers I'm using are accurate, too optimistic, or too pessimistic. All right, speaking of estimates, it's a good time to thank the sponsor of this video, Fiscal.ai, where I retrieve most of the financial information I use to conduct financial analysis and make price predictions like the one I'm making in this video. If you're interested in their services, there's a link in the description where you'll save 15% if you use that affiliate link. So the number I'm retrieving right now from Fiscal.ai is the earnings per share estimate for Meta Platforms for the fiscal year, which ends in December of 2027. And that number is $33.18 per share, is what the analysts on Wall Street that are following this company believe it will deliver in EPS in 2027. The other number I'm retrieving from Fiscal.ai here is the company's forward price to earnings ratio. As of this recording, it's trading at a forward PE of 21.85, which is near the lower end of this valuation for Meta stock going back all the way to January of this year. Now, this is a relatively low valuation for Meta according to this valuation metric, and I expect that this premium will increase in 2026. I expect this forward PE multiple will expand in 2026, more likely than not. So now that we have the estimates we need, we can jump into my scenario analysis for Meta for 2027. I'm keeping the earnings per share for 2027 constant at $33.18. And I'm going to look at a few scenarios where the forward PE multiple increases because I see that as the most likely outcome for this stock in 2026. If, however, the forward PE multiple stays the same and does not expand, but the company remains on track to hit this earnings per share estimate, then the stock price could still increase all the way to $725 per share. If, however, the forward PE multiple were to increase to 24, then the stock price could increase all the way to $796 per share. If the forward PE multiple increases to 28, then the stock price could rise all the way to $929 per share. And in the most optimistic scenario I evaluated, the forward PE multiple rises to 32, which could lift the stock price up to $1,062 per share. Out of the four scenarios I highlighted, this is the least likely out of these four. However, out of all the scenarios that are possible, of course, there are many more scenarios that are possible. These four are the most likely that I see happening in 2026. Now, each of these four that I've calculated show Meta stock price increasing in 2026, which is the most likely outcome. I see it highly probable that Meta's stock price increases instead of decreasing next year. But that doesn't mean there is a 0% probability. In fact, there's a meaningful chance that Meta's stock price falls in 2026. I don't see that as being very likely, but it could happen. It's a non-zero probability. Some of the reasons that the stock price could fall could be a continued increase in spending from Meta on artificial intelligence, and that would show a management team that's not paying attention to investor sentiment. If Zuckerberg comes out and just keeps giving higher and higher spending forecasts for AI without the company's revenue accelerating meaningfully, then that could cause the share price to fall further as investors will become a little bit concerned about the CEO's willingness to continue spending despite investors sending him a clear signal that we're not happy with this spending. That's why we're selling your stock. Remember last time when Meta announced these big spending plans, it was for the metaverse and not artificial intelligence. And when that time, the investor community sent clear signals to Meta's management team decreased and reduced and even stopped talking about the metaverse completely. And investors liked that the management team responded to investor sentiment and rewarded the stock price, and the stock price jumped in the years after that reversal. And so investors like when management teams pay attention to investor sentiment. Now, on the upside, what could happen for Meta in 2026 is a continued increase in revenue growth, incorporating the AI investments they've already made, which then creates more enthusiasm from investors for the company's spending plans. And they feel more comfortable and they feel more justified in the spending plans for Meta because they're seeing the results of that spending. Furthermore, if the AI investing trend continues in the ecosystem and all companies continue investing in AI and we see more breakthrough, we see more advancement in the technology, and investors become less fearful that we're in an AI bubble, that could be another catalyst that lifts Meta's share price and multiple higher in 2026. So all that being said, where do I see as the most likely outcome for Meta's share price for 2026? I think the most likely scenario is that the stock price rises to between $750 per share and $825 per share by the end of next year. Now, that's a nice upside from the current stock price of $644 per share. If I was an investor in Meta stock, I would be happy with that return. I don't own Meta stock myself, but it's on my list of stocks that I'm interested in buying, and I wouldn't be surprised if I buy Meta stock sometime soon. I'm really interested in this stock at current valuations. I think it's undervalued. I have it rated as a buy. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments section below. Is this target too optimistic, too pessimistic, or right on point? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Hey, thanks for watching. I truly respect every viewer who takes the time to seek qualified financial analysis. Unfortunately, there are a lot of unqualified voices online giving unsubstantiated stock advice. My goal is to provide research that's grounded in data and professional training, not just what's popular. For those new here, I hold a master's degree in financial economics. I'm a CFA charter holder, an author, an adjunct professor of finance and economics. I've spent nearly a decade researching stocks professionally, and I'm here to help you make informed investing decisions. If you found value in this analysis, make sure to subscribe and consider joining the channel as a member for early access and in-depth members-only content.